Dynasty the king.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Exchange. If you are listening at this point in the season, you either love us and thank you so much for coming along for the journey, or you hate us and you're looking for something you dislike. I'm sure we will give you both in the coming 45 minutes to an hour. Dylan, my playoff journey ended because Dak Prescott proved that he is probably not an MVP candidate. He's just having a career year. But you know what, makes it all better after an embarrassing Cowboys loss? Somehow the Eagles find a way to lose to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Jalen Hurts, you've used this against me in regards to Justin Fields all season, like jokes about he's just a running back. Is Jalen Hurts just a running back after he – listen, I'm just asking the question. How do you see him?
Because we're not doing this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to go down this road of Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts. We're not going to do that. Jalen Hurts is a way more established quarterback than Justin Fields has and probably will ever be, for being honest.
Well, I don't want to go there. But Jalen Hurts, very, very bad game through the air. It's important to remember he was battling sickness and he chose to still play this game. 143 and 2 interceptions through the air. But this guy's he's a fantasy superstar, dude. In a bad game where he's having one of his worst games of the season, 13 for 82 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Dylan, what were your thoughts on the Eagles offense as a whole? Jalen Hurts obviously struggled, but it seems like something isn't clicking. The Seahawks have been not an elite defense, even though they seemed that way tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's something wrong with that offense. And it seems to be Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, just hasn't really gotten a groove. If we're being real, they've been out of sync pretty much all season long, right? Like they've had their glimpses, right? And they have superstars. So yes, they're still going to produce, but on a game like tonight, it just seemed like they got outcoached by the defense for sure. And it just seemed like Brian Johnson didn't really have a game plan. I understand Jalen Hurts was sick. I still think DeAndre Swift looked good. AJ Brown wasn't really involved. Devontae Smith wasn't really involved. Goddard was. It seemed like Jalen Hurts was just doing it all on his own.
Yeah, 5 for 56 for AJ Brown, 5 for 50 for Devontae Smith. In fantasy playoffs, that's super disappointing, but it also doesn't completely kill you like some other players have done this week. But AJ Brown's just been super consistent all season, so you're obviously disappointed. I wanted to ask you about DeAndre Swift, 18 for 74 on the ground, another decent day rushing. The rushing touchdowns don't seem to be there. Jalen Hurts is constantly kind of sniping those away. What's his future? He's on a 1-year deal. It's worth $2 odd million. Final season, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. Does he come back to the Eagles? And does it really depend on – I'm not asking you to completely speculate on what his decision is or where he's with the Eagles so much as I'm asking what's his dynasty outlook if he's back on the Eagles versus going elsewhere? And where could that elsewhere be?
Yeah, I mean, he's in one of the best offenses. And I know I just said their offensive coordinator hasn't hit a stride, but they still look, despite that and despite looking like
the weapons around him. Yeah.
Correct. The weapons around him, with Hurts being able to run the ball, that opens up the running lanes for Swift. I think his best option would be to stay in Philly. I just don't know if he goes elsewhere, is he going to get the workload that he wants? We've seen how running backs get treated, right? There's not very many workhorse, quote unquote, backs or really guys that get brought in to be that guy. He should. I mean, you said his contract's $2 million. He should go somewhere and get paid a little bit more than that for sure.
No, for sure.
I can see him going somewhere and being a complimentary back, but I don't know that he has RB1 upside anywhere else. Where if he stays in Philly, I think he can own that backfield. And I don't see them bringing anyone in that is a serious competition for him. They kind of like the Boston Scott, kind of backfield.
No, they certainly they love to run by committee, and I don't know that they'll break the bank. I mean, obviously Miles Sanders had a career year last year, was able to go to Carolina and essentially con them into paying him a boatload of cash. Good for him, good for his agent.
Question for you: do you think DeAndre Swift? Because I'm kind of torn on him. I don't think I would be investing in DeAndre Swift. I just don't. He's 24 years old, so he's still young and he's got some juice. But I just don't. Something about me just doesn't want to buy into him.
At this point, first of all, trade deadline's probably passed. If you don't have
it's more of an off-season speculation.
Yeah, off-season speculation, man. We shouldn't buy running backs till the season starts. Especially ones priced at a second or higher. I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from this season, man. I would have loved to have spent on Kyron Williams for a 4th-round pick. I would have loved to have taken a dart throw on Keaton Mitchell. That's fine. But when you overspend on running back in free agency, not only are you, you're not just risking that it doesn't work out the way you think it does with like a Miles Sanders. You're also risking that player starts out great and just gets injured right away, and you put a lot of, good capital into a running back. So they're just kind of in that weird, I don't know. I would take a flyer on him if someone's just down on his value and selling him on the cheap, like a late second. I would be happy to pick up DeAndre Swift. But
that's
if
what
he
I look
goes,
to buy running backs for.
Yeah, if he goes to the wrong team, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Because, bro, he was on the wrong team.
KTC, DeAndre Swift, RB16.
I think that's where he should be.
Oh, ooh,
you think he should be lower?
I mean, he's right behind Isaiah Pacheco. He's got
I would prefer
Tony Pollard's behind him, Alvin Kamara, Bijan Robinson.
That was the name. I'm glad you mentioned Tony Pollard. Give me DeAndre Swift over Tony Pollard in the offseason.
I think I'm on board with that for sure.
We're just hanging on to like Pollard had great seasons when Zeke was still there. But anyway, moving on from Swift, getting to Seattle. First of all, thank you, Seahawks. We appreciate it. As Cowboys fans, this is good.
Absolutely.
We can
that was a favor
all hate Russell Wilson. You guys can hate the Eagles. We can hate the Eagles. We had a barn burner fantasy game together. It was great. Young stars come through. Kenneth Walker. A lot of debate you and I have had about Kenneth Walker because he's a young running back who has big games. Not always when you expect it. He always seems to do it on big chunk plays. Like it's like 1 yard carry, 2 yard carry. He got some chunk plays tonight, found the end zone, 19 for 86 on the ground and 3 for 26 through the air. Of course, the score, which I already mentioned. Kenneth Walker, he's a superstar. You're happy with him moving forward. There's maybe 6 or 7 running backs you can put in front of him. You can put less than that. It's really just up to you.
Mr. Walker, if you're listening to this, I owe you an apology.
Yeah, you're a hater.
I have. I have really actually been a hater of Kenneth Walker, and it hasn't been very warranted. It's more so been my lack of confidence that he'll actually sustain the production that he has. And it's been sporadic. It really has. And with Charbonnet coming in, I wasn't sure what that looks like, but it looks like it's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's going to ride the running back that he brought in initially until they get hurt or they can't go anymore, and then Charbonnet is going to get his chance. So Kenneth Walker to me is a top 10, easily top 10. Where he falls in that top 10, he's definitely not, I wouldn't say higher than 5. I would say 5 to 10 range. But to me, he's definitely a top 10 RB for sure. That
But doesn't he feel safer than like a Breece Hall in a weird way?
No. I mean, I'm not taking.
Feel safer?
I'm not taking Ken Walker over Breece Hall. No.
The Seattle offense just and the stability with Pete Carroll around it. To me, I think there's just something.
This is recency bias. He had a good game tonight, but I mean,
it's not just a good game. I'm just saying, like career wise, he's just been. I trust the Seattle offense. I mean,
it's also the looming Charbonnet over his head, right? Like there's any second, and if he gets injured, it's just like at any second it feels like
this proves to me you can still buy him at a discount and then probably just go overpay for the handcuff because you got the main guy at a discount. That's what that says to me. Moving on, DK Metcalf 5 for 78 through the air. By the way, Drew Lock had to start, and I don't want to say had to start because he got the dub. Drew Lock came in and started. Got the dub. Well coached.
Dude wasn't even ready. Dude was thinking he was going to be on the sideline just holding the clipboard, and sure enough, he got called right before the game, and he balled out.
Made plays.
He didn't show up on the stat sheet, right, or in the fantasy score, but
he threw a great block. Out. Like he was downfield.
Speaking of throwing, hold on. We got to give this man some respect. Drew Lock has never looked like a bad quarterback. Okay, I take that back. He has looked like a bad quarterback. That was bad. Okay. That came out complete. I'm gonna get so roasted for that one.
He has looked like a bad quarterback. The Drew Lock's a guy.
He is so good. No, he's made some incredible throws.
He's never looked.
He's never put it all together. He has never looked like He's looked better than Zach Wilson ever has.
He's had flashes. Had flashes when he was with Denver.
Let me ask you this: has he the times that you've seen him start? I would say he's looked better than Kenny Pickett.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I'm sorry, Kenny Pickett had a ton of fourth quarter.
I'm not saying
no. Real life NFL wise,
Pickett.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing, Drew Lock. Who cares? I mean,
I'm just trying to give my man some airtime.
No, dude. Lots of energy, 100%. Like the Mizzou highlight, like him in Texas, it's great. Drew Lock, I do not see a path to fantasy relevance. Yeah,
he did something like that.
And they were just it was awesome. Anyway, moving on from Drew Lock to the pass catchers, DK Metcalf 5 for 78, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. DK Metcalf doesn't get enough credit for being quarterback proof. Obviously, Geno had a career year last year, made the Pro Bowl, super cool. But like Geno Smith, no one would put in the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. He's decent. He's serviceable. Drew Lock obviously being the backup. I think we're going to get an era, and you've talked a lot about Seattle picking up a young QB, where DK Metcalf, imagine if he gets a CJ Stroud. And I'm not saying that that's going to be easy, but even 85 cents on the dollar that is CJ Stroud, what could the ceiling be for a DK Metcalf? It could be high. He's clearly the one in that offense.
Easily. Yeah. He could,
and he's done that with the right quarterback. He's done that in his career, you know.
He has. And this is what I've been saying. I'm going to take my victory lap because I've told people time and time again, the dude is quarterback proof. I understand that he had a down year last year, but if you're telling me a top 20 wide receiver is a down year for DK Metcalf,
yeah,
absolutely. Like that was his worst year in his career was last year, and it was still top 20, like a top 20.
Yeah, and he led the wide receiver position in end zone targets. So it's like it was one of those things where you knew there was going to be positive touchdown regression.
They brought in JSN. I understand that. JSN also, we'll talk about him in a second. He's a good wide receiver, but this is DK's offense. Like, he is the one in that offense. Like he is the one in that offense, and I don't see that changing.
I think the biggest change that you can talk at the wide receiver position, and you already mentioned it, JSN is now clearly the 2. Mm-hmm. The reason I think people were down on DK Metcalf, it's all about compared to who, right? He was the wide receiver 20, as you said. Tyler Lockett finished ahead of him at the wide receiver. I believe it was 13 or 17 off the top of my head. We can
on the week
double check that. No.
On the year last season. Yeah, I'll check that for you.
But Tyler Lockett is clearly the number 3 in that offense now behind JSN, who
Tyler
I believe
Lockett was wide receiver 13 last year.
Oh, it was 13, like I said. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why people were so down. It's like, oh, Tyler Lockett's great. He's an awesome value. That's awesome. That, to me, shows you the upside that JSN can have year over year because he, in my opinion, has now asserted himself as the number 2 wide receiving option for Seattle. He's only going to get better with time. Had the game-winning go-ahead touchdown, signature play, great catch. I think his value is going to skyrocket on a KTC. He's going to jump back up probably to the top 12. I don't believe he deserves to be there, not because he can't be there in due time.
But Puka Nacua does.
Yes, a wide receiver who's already had 1,000 yards in his rookie year absolutely deserves to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can think that JSN is more valuable in terms of like his physical traits or whatever, but I just think that that's a little bit of draft capital bias. But this is, listen, I'm not trying to diss JSN. He had a great game. I think it's going to continue. I think his career's on the right track. But that's what I wanted to ask you, though, Dylan, is JSN belongs where right now? Do you go get him assuming that the future is always going to be bright, or are you hesitant because there is a cap on his ceiling?
I was out on JSN early. Like what it took to draft him because he was going top 5 in the rookie drafts this year, and B, just what you had to pay to acquire him earlier in the season. Now, I don't think his price has changed from what you had to acquire him earlier in the season because of how much it regressed mid-season of like, wait, is this guy actually a dude? I think now we know, and if you are savvy enough to know, you probably should have made this move like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
No, 3 or 4 weeks. We talked about this a while ago.
Right, he started to emerge.
JSN was the first name. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, he started to emerge. You should have made this a few weeks ago, but I still think you can get him. You're going to have to pay. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to get him for a second or 2 seconds.
No,
that's not going to happen. You're going to have to start dabbling first. But
I don't think you could pay a mid-first, though. I don't think you could pay a mid-first.
I wouldn't pay a mid-first. I wouldn't.
Really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think I would rather have.
That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me.
Why does that not make no sense to you?
Okay, because here's why it doesn't make sense to me. You told everyone at the start of the season, JSN's going to have a rough start to the season. Be patient with your rookies. Be patient with your rookies. He's a super talented, unbelievable wide receiver. We just talked about Tyler Lockett's ceiling, which, by the way, it's not like Tyler Lockett was a young spring chicken last year. He's still a bit older at the wide receiver age, okay? Like, still finished as wide receiver 13. JSN, dude, rookie year, coming on strong late at the end. You would rather re-roll with like a Keon Coleman or a Blake Neighbors, like that's that's Neighbors, what you're thinking. Forgive me, Malik Neighbors. Did I just mention Blake Neighbors from high school? I auto-corrected to someone we went to high school with Blake Neighbors. Malik Neighbors. Shout out Blake Neighbors. You should be listening. No, a Malik Neighbors, a Keon Coleman, maybe a Trey Benson. We don't know who that's going to be kind of at the 106, 105,
yes,
whatever it is.
Let me just sum it up. Would I take a mid-first over JSN, yes, because yes, the wide receiver class is better. Sure, I'll roll the dice with maybe getting a shot at one of those wide receivers. But the reality is there's going to be a quarterback there. There's going to be a quarterback there that I would much rather have. I'd much rather have Michael Penix Jr., I don't know who else. Jaden Daniels probably isn't going to slip there. Maybe it depends. It depends on how your draft shakes out. But I'd rather have one of those guys than.
It's about to be so much fun speculating on all these rookies, man. Like
it is.
That season is only a few weeks away. Obviously, we got to get through the rest of the NFL season and the Super Bowl. Woe is us! But I can't wait to start speculating about some rookies, man. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be fun. But yes, I am taking a mid first over JSN. I don't think I would give. It would be a late first that I would send for him. And also, he has DK still. Like DK is still there. DK is the one, and we haven't seen him. Yes, he's been good too.
No. But if Tyler Lockett can finish as the wide receiver 13, you think Tyler Lockett last year is a better player than JSN is going to be next year?
I don't know. I know that Tyler Lockett was a more experienced wide receiver, and he knew what he was doing. He's done the same thing, and he had boom games.
And that's not to disrespect Tyler Lockett. He's been a great wide receiver in the NFL for a long time. No, I just don't think I'm confused because you were one of the biggest JSN fans. Go get this guy. Go get this guy.
Yes, I told you to go get him when there was a deal to get him because it was early. You could have gotten him at a dis-ish count. You probably could have sent 2 seconds for him at that point and got him.
So if someone sold him for like 2 firsts early on in the season, they won right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good for them.
Good for them. Do your victory lap.
Listen, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are all aboard and overboard on some playoff performances. Listen, it was one of those weeks where the start your studs people, we don't look so good right now. Joe Flacco outscoring a lot of quarterbacks that were started. But we want to examine what's real, what was just a flash in the pan, and what are the dynasty takeaways after a very, very strange first week of playoffs. Stay tuned. Welcome back in. Dylan mentioned it before the break. Start your studs is always the mantra going into that first week of playoffs. It becomes far too easy to overtinker and think that, I'm going to make a hero play, and you really just want to trust the roster that got you there. Well, one player, if you had him in playoffs, this is far more likely you had a playoff team that had Bijan Robinson on it because Bijan is a highly drafted player, and you could have afforded the idea that, hey, maybe this running back who underperformed throughout the season could still be on a playoff roster. If you had Bijan in like a redraft league, I don't know that you were even in playoffs. But all that being said, is it finally time after one of the worst performances I have literally ever seen in fantasy, negative in Yacht Club scoring, negative 0.1 in playoffs? Literally hurt you to start him. I'm saying it. God. All aboard, overboard. Bijan Robinson is officially a dynasty bust.
Oh, Josh, we're being dramatic now. A bust?
Are we?
It's his rookie year. Yes, absolutely. I am overboard on him being a bust because Arthur Smith, what are you doing? What I don't understand. How do you come off the week that you had last week where the offense looks like a top 10 offense in the league, and then you go into Carolina, and I get it. Carolina's defense actually is not bad. They're not a bad defense, but they literally didn't do anything. Bijan did nothing. Drake London did nothing. Desmond Ridder did nothing. Kyle Pitt, no one did anything. So aside from that, Bijan Robinson's still Bijan Robinson. He is still a great player. I don't think he's a bust. I think what the problem is what you thought you were getting with Bijan Robinson. If you think he was just this Christian McCaffrey of a running back, I think yes, you're bummed because he's not that. Could he be that?
But that's what makes him a bust. It's the expectation. It's the acquisition cost. No, that's what makes someone a bust.
Him still being RB2 in Dynasty doesn't make him to me he's still RB2. I'm not taking anyone except for Christian McCaffrey over Bijan Robinson.
Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. Easily. Without a moment's hesitation. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs.
I still think I would take Bijan.
I do. Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor.
No.
Too much wear on the tire.
I mean, Breece Hall over Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, no, agreed. Actually,
but Bijan Robinson, I genuinely don't think he's a bust.
Yeah, just
I think expectation. He's just a victim of expectations. Like if Caleb Williams declares for the draft, or Bijan,
Bijan. Okay.
Yeah, Bijan. Okay. If Caleb Williams declares for the draft this year, comes in, he's going to disappoint. it's inevitable that he's going to disappoint because of the expectations. Like, the dude was being compared to Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's just unrealistic. Just like Bijan was better than seems like he was the 101 guaranteed.
So here's not only where I disagree, but here's where I want to like lay out what I'm defining as a bust, right? One of the first episodes we did, you like really defined generational. To me, here's a bust. Like for dynasty purposes, it's all about acquisition cost, right? Most people who got the 101, which that's where Bijan was taken, like in the vast majority of leagues, they tanked for that pick, right? Or they traded an arm and a leg to go get that pick so that they could secure Bijan Robinson. And he's going to finish. He's currently the RB12 on the season. After this last game, I don't know that he's going to skyrocket up the boards. He only has one finish over 25 fantasy points on the season. And thankfully that was like 3 weeks ago. 4 weeks total is, 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, he had 27 points. That was his highest RB3 on the week. That's the highest finish he's had all season. 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. Those have been a rarity. Here's the issue. This is why he's a bust. A superstar running back drafted in the top 20 picks. Best year is always their rookie season. Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley. Now McCaffrey, he broke the mold. But is McCaffrey even a running back? Is he a receiver?
He's just
what is he?
Freak.
Leonard Fournette, same thing. Like Najee Harris, like all these guys, they get their work in the first year. Long term, does Bijan still have value? Abso-freaking-lutely. But everyone paid for Bijan not to just be good in the future and develop. Running backs don't develop. They're just used. They start at the top of their value, and they fall off a cliff over the course of their career. Sometimes they rebound a little bit, but they're never going to be as valuable as he was when he was drafted.
RB12.
He's a bust.
RB12.
Yeah.
He's RB12.
Yeah.
His rookie year.
Season. Yeah.
How is that a bust? I just you're calling him a bust too soon.
Saquon Barkley was the running back one. Was the running back one? Zeke Elliott was a top 3 in his rookie season. This guy was being compared. Generational talent.
No, you know where I stand with Bijan Robinson. I told you I don't know that he's generational. From the get-go, I have said I think the reason why I don't think he's a bust is because I understood the expectations were way too high. And we've talked about if I had if I had the 101 in any rookie draft, I would have taken
that is you. That is you saying I'm okay.
Realistic. I'm being realistic for the people. I'm not being biased.
Talk to the markets. No.
I don't talk to the markets because the markets are fabricated.
But people I was right. I had the correct opinion. Does not help anybody.
Yes, it does. It says listen. This is why you listen to the podcast, because you know that I give you accurate information. You having high expectations for Bijan Robinson. You said
never had a bad game.
Okay,
ever.
That was a misspeak. Okay, never had a bad game. I didn't say
never looked bad.
Drew Lock.
No, I hear you.
Bijan Robinson. It's your own fault if you overhyped Bijan Robinson. It really is. It is genuinely your own fault because anything. And I think we learned a lesson. I think we learned a lesson as dynasty players.
How dare you
to actually value people like the Caleb Williams talk has really, really gone down. Right, there's already speculation of Drake May actually should go before Caleb Williams. So I think that is a byproduct of people taking Bijan in Superflex leagues 101 over CJ Stroud, over A-Rich. Bryce Young, sure, whatever. I probably would have done that. But over CJ Stroud and A-Rich, no. No, you shouldn't have done that. Now people are coming back down to reality. He is not a bust because he's still a good player. Do not go swing the pendulum and say you're out on a player because
bust is based on expectations. It's based on acquisition costs and expectations.
You know what? Fine. Let me tell you this. If you genuinely think he's a bust, sell him. Sell him. Get rid of Bijan Robinson. Try to sell him capital. You're not going to recoup your value. You're not going to be able to get what you paid for him for sure. Why not just ride it out with who the RB12 his rookie year is in a garbage offense with a guy that didn't even utilize him correctly the entire season?
You get that off. Get it off your chest. You feel good. You feel better.
I think I'm good now. Okay. I'm over here backing up Bijan, bro. I'm not even a big Bijan guy. I just think you're over.
Because you had the correct expectations.
Yes, because you are the markets. You're actually.
I'm
saying what the markets are. You're swinging the pendulum in your KTC. You're a walking KTC.
No. This is something, and this is so wrong in the fantasy community space as a whole. Everyone wants to talk about, well, I didn't think that, or I didn't do this. No, let's take what the consensus actually was saying at the time. I remember when I was a part of the problem.
Why would you want to be wrong with the masses when you can have a conviction? I'd rather be wrong on my own conviction than be wrong with the masses.
Congratulations, Plato / Socrates. You're a man of integrity.
Bro,
I'm just admitting.
What is your point? Tell
let me finish. Let me make my point.
What are you doing?
Let me
with
make
Bijan?
my point.
What are you doing with Bijan?
Right now? You have to hold. You have to hold.
Okay.
Because you're so pot committed to him working out, and I do think brighter days are ahead. But you thought you were getting a superstar, and you got a really good player based on acquisition cost, the tanking of an entire season, or the purchase price of 2 firsts plus, if not 3, to move up to the 101, will not ever be worth it. Statistically speaking.
That says
almost
more
never.
about the player than it does about like the dynasty player than it says about Bijan.
But time out. That's where we have to learn to get better as dynasty players. We're saying the same thing. I'm just coming from a place of humility. Like, hey, I get it. I was high. I've known for that. I'm known for that. Everyone knows.
Yeah, Josh Walsh. Humility is his middle name.
Definitely. Either way, I'm simply saying if you bought the Bijan hype, I get it. Everyone did. Everyone was talking about it. Now, a lot of people, yourself included in fairness, myself included in fairness, was like, okay, wait, is it worth the 101? Is it not? But everyone heard it for years and years and years. People had been waiting on Bijan like they'd been waiting on Saquon Barkley. That was the most obvious comp. We said this guy was situation proof. This guy was taken in a top 10 pick. This guy was going to be the next big thing. And I'm not saying that he's broken or worthless because he's not. I'm simply saying, remember this in draft season. Take the guy that makes the most sense for your pick the best player or the overall value. That's a great point. But if you like a Jahmyr Gibbs more, if you like a certain position that you have need of more, don't buy in that every player is going to be a superstar just because we've crowned him before they've ever taken an NFL snap. Same warning with. I'm simply saying a player can be great on the field, land in the wrong situation, miss the window for their career to work out the right way. Will Bijan Robinson have career years where he could go for 1,500 plus yards on the ground, maybe even hit 2,000 yards? Sure, maybe, possibly, totally. You're pot committed to seeing that happen. And if you just hold, you're not wrong yet. He's not a bust. But as of right now, he is completely and totally a dynasty bust based on acquisition costs.
He's not a bust. I get it that the first year.
I'm not putting a coffin on his whole career. But
I was about to say, because Saquon, like he could very much have a better career than Saquon. I understand injuries were part of Saquon, but I mean Saquon was
running backs. Yeah,
he was RB2 his rookie year, RB10. He got injured the next year, tore his ACL. He was RB114, so whatever. RB32 last season was RB6. This season RB18. So I mean, it's not super impressive. So Bijan being RB12 to me is actually impressive, especially because he wasn't a workhorse back. Saquon got everything as the running back his rookie year. So I don't know. I don't think he's a bust. He's still, if you watch, he passes the eye test. He's efficient.
He certainly
he does get
100%. Well, it wasn't not this last week. I mean, he was just getting killed in the backfield, But once again, we got to remember Todd Gurley had a great rookie year, and then he had some disappointing seasons with Jeff Fisher. Sean McVay arrives, and then he sets the world on fire. But that's what you're hoping for. The real point
I would just be careful throwing around the bust, because if we're going to talk about bust, Quentin Johnston, that is a bust. Bijan Robinson is not a bust. So I just think that's where you've got to.
I was saying the point I'm trying to make, the player is still incredibly talented. The situation sucks, and the acquisition cost you paid has to hurt.
You're dingus. If you paid that, you're dingus. If you paid the acquisition cost,
how dare you do what 90% of other dynasty players were doing, you idiot. We told you before rookie drafts last year, and our owners only no,
I'm here to exchange value, and I'm telling you, do not pay a premium for a running back in the first round of a rookie draft. It just never made sense. Anyways, go ahead.
Continuing. Dylan, I want to get to a player who had the opposite of a disappointing fantasy playoff, I should say, game, a player we've disagreed on for a long time. Tee Higgins showed back up in the box score with a Jamar Chase early exit, made some big time plays, specifically a touchdown catch where he caught it out of the end zone and then just one arm stuck it over the pylon.
Incredible.
I make it sound, I know, but I just made that sound so lame. It's like he just caught the ball and just stuck it over the end zone. Like, you got to watch the play. Genuinely one of the most, God, I'm about to say something out of pocket. No, I can't. There's been some commentators this year who I love and respect, and they sounded like that at times, and it's really hurt me. It's hurt me as a fan of them.
Conviction, I respect it.
Yeah, no, genuinely. But no, Tee Higgins had a top 10 play on the year, found the end zone twice. Tee Higgins been dormant all season, shows up in playoffs. If you were somehow in playoffs with Tee Higgins, congratulations. Far more likely in Dynasty than redraft, as I've mentioned about other formats. Dylan, your thoughts on Tee Higgins? What is your all aboard or overboard for him?
All aboard, overboard. Next year, right? Not this year. Next year, Tee Higgins finally breaks out as a wide receiver 1. He has been ranked as a wide receiver 1 pretty much after his rookie year, his whole career, right? He has never finished actually as a wide receiver 1. He's a career wide receiver 2.
Yes.
And so I even thought that him being ranked as a wide receiver 1 was a little bit not justified. I think he was a high-end wide receiver 2. I think he still is. Next, he's in a contract year. I don't think Cincinnati's bringing him back. I don't think they can afford to because they need to. They just paid Burrow. They have to pay Chase. Chase is the priority, not Higgins. Higgins is most likely going to walk unless he takes a team-friendly deal. But for this situation, we're just going to assume that he walks. He is going to land in either Arizona with Kyler. He's going to land in Houston with CJ.
I thought about that one. Yeah.
He's going to land he could
Kansas
land with
City.
Fields. He could land with Fields. He could land in Kansas City. He's going to land somewhere where he's going to be a 1. Fields, he probably wouldn't be a 1 if it's in Chicago.
Well, question. Fields is in Chicago? Fields stays there?
That's all for another day. I actually don't think he will be, but I digress.
Yeah.
No, Tee Higgins, I think next year is going to finally break out and get a wide receiver 1 workload, wide receiver 1 treatment, wide receiver 1 paycheck. And this dude, he passes the eye test. I know you and I have gone back and forth of you don't think he's a wide receiver 1, whatever. You hate Tee Higgins. You think he's awful. You don't think he's a good wide receiver.
Terrible person. Yeah.
You think he might be morally corrupt. I don't know. You've said all these things about him, which are just not justified. Tee Higgins, he showed you. Jamar Chase went down. What did Tee Higgins do this past week? What did he do, Josh? What did he do?
2 touchdowns.
He did 8 targets, only caught 4 of them, but for 61 yards in not one.
He did 2. The targets. He did those targets.
I said he got 8 targets.
I was just being funny.
Look, this is what Josh does. When he knows he's wrong, he starts deflecting and starts attacking and trying to poke holes in my analysis that I'm reading legitimate. I'm literally reading exactly what he did last week. So, Josh, he is going to be a wide receiver 1. Are you all aboard or overboard next year? If he lands somewhere, let's say best case scenario, right? If he lands in Arizona with Kyler, if he lands in Houston with CJ Stroud, are you buying that he's going to be a wide receiver 1?
If he lands in Arizona, if he lands in Houston,
let's not even pick a destination. If he is the wide receiver 1 in an offense with a competent quarterback, is he a wide receiver 1?
His competence a big deal. Like he goes to the Giants, I don't know. I genuinely don't. I trust Brian Dable. I'm going to say odds are yes. And this goes back to the same DJ Moore take I had. No, listen, I have had an issue not with Tee Higgins, but with Tee Higgins hype. You look at his career, and I've always said this is all Sean Jeffrey with Brandon Marshall.
This is like that is so disrespectful.
It's not disrespectful, dude. It's not disrespectful at all. The man has never done better than wide receiver 17 on a season, and he is a super talented, big-bodied number 2 who has touchdown upside week over week. And I don't think he's like set the world on fire. I think he's a really good jump ball guy, but he hasn't always been like super reliable with that. Not to mention the health issues. I mean, this guy has a problem staying on the field. So all that's been there, but we've just have a long history of high-end wide receivers, highly paid wide receivers, if you minus Kenny Golladay, going to either a young quarterback or a different situation where they plan on featuring them and it totally working out. Most recently, the person I would think of as DJ Moore. You could obviously bring up Tyreek Hill, even Devontae Adams, who's been disappointing on the Raiders because the Raiders haven't won a lot of games. Devontae Adams has more than delivered for fantasy. You sign these big name wide receivers, you plan on targeting them, they get hyper targeted, and if it gets the bonus of being paired with a young quarterback, I love the Stroud idea. I don't mind the Kyler one. Kyler's already done this with D-Hop.
What if he lands in Jacksonville? Because Calvin Ridley's gone.
I'm out.
Really?
I'm out. Dylan, I am such a Christian Kirk fan, unlike you. I so believe. No, it's just that Trevor Lawrence doesn't hyper-target any one receiver. We've already seen that, and I think Calvin Ridley's still a pretty talented guy.
He came there. Christian Kirk, but yeah.
He doesn't, though, because he targets Evan Ingram the same amount. Like, he spreads the ball around. He's just not that type of QB. But even even in that situation, I don't know that Tee Higgins goes down in value if he goes to Jacksonville. There's only a few places I would be worried that he would go down in value. But
well, he's now on KTC wide receiver 24. So he's dropped pretty significantly in the offseason.
That seems appropriate, though.
He was a wide receiver. Really? I would have him up in the top 15 for sure.
Well, this is finally, like, Tee Higgins now is a buy now candidate. This is the first time in his career I would be pursuing Tee Higgins based on that perception.
Tee Higgins is similar to DK Metcalf, and like how DK Metcalf is getting slandered of like not being able to be a wide receiver one. Or whatever.
But no.
I don't think he's as physically gifted as DK Metcalf.
But DK Metcalf has a way better track record. Like I already mentioned, the best season Tee Higgins has ever had is wide receiver 17. We're disappointed with DK Metcalf getting wide receiver 20. DK Metcalf has finished in the top 5, depending on your scoring format in previous seasons, and he did it at a younger age. So DK Metcalf's already been to the
biggest thing for Tee Higgins has been, like you said, it's the health. Part of the reason why he hasn't finished as a wide receiver 1 is because he's been injured for multiple games every season, except for his rookie year.
On the field. So I said on the field. He can't stay on the field. I can't stay on the field. On the field.
On the field, yeah. But no, he was injured last year. He was injured the year before. His rookie year, he was healthy, but he didn't have Joe Burrow. So, like, we haven't got to see a fully healthy, a full season of Tee Higgins. And I think if he's in an offense where he's the focus in the passing game, I think we could see a wide receiver 1 season from him next year. And so going into the offseason, if you can get Tee Higgins I would start with the second. I don't think you're going to be able to do that, but multiple seconds. Yeah. 2 seconds should get it done. But you got to do it before he signs.
I would wait until the rookie hype is at an all-time high. Do it during draft season. Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, it's just before he signs, wherever he signs in free agency. Because once he signs in free agency,
which is in March, it's just it.
But what if it
comes quick,
bro? What if it goes to what if it goes to a bad spot? Like DJ Moore signed with the Bears, he didn't spike.
I think Tee Higgins actually is a good talent. Me personally, I'm convicted on the talent, so I'm trading for the talent. And no matter where he goes, he's gonna get a bag. He's gonna get a bag, and he's gonna be the guy. OBJ got 20 mil last year to be the Ravens wide receiver 1, I guess.
That's this year. I hear. Yeah, it's weird. I'm with you. I can't believe we agree. Like, I can't believe I'm showing respect to Tee Higgins, but
I was seems like you completely just go against me here.
No, I just think that based on historical precedent and acquisition costs is kind of the theme of the show for me. It's like, well, hey, what are you paying for it at that price? Yeah, I'm in on Tee Higgins. All right, let's move on to a player who I have been trying to acquire in leagues, literally everywhere, and now it's too late. But James Cook, after a monstrous performance against our Cowboys, and you can't slant your bias simply because he ran all over us, but James Cook broke my heart and is probably going to break the bank to acquire, because I believe James Cook is now a top 4 dynasty running back moving forward.
Top 4.
Yeah.
That's the line. All aboard or overboard top 4?
Top 4. So you can keep your Bijan there, obviously, which I definitely would.
CMC.
CMC and Jameer Gibbs. No.
So you're taking.
And I don't know that, depending on how you value youth, I don't know that CMC belongs in the top 4, if not the top 5. Don't get me wrong.
Dynasty,
super in on CMC.
2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years is the max.
Fair enough.
If I'm going to compete, I do rankings based off of like if you're competing in a 2 to 3 year window, that's your rankings.
Yeah. Then yes.
So CMC, Bijan, Gibbs. I'm taking Brees. So I'm overboard. I don't think he's a top 4. I don't even think he's a top 8, I would say. I think he's a top 10 right now. I would consider him a top 10 RB for sure, especially the way that he's getting. This is what we've wanted. This is what we wanted Devin Singletary to be, right? James Cook is actually getting the passing work, the rushing work, and he's efficient and actually doing it well. We thought that it couldn't happen. Part of the issue may have been Ken Dorsey. We see Joe Brady take over, and what do you know? He unlocks the running game. Like, it was a complete negligence of I have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Let's win through him, when they went out and ran over one of the best rush defenses in the entire league, and James Cook made it look easy. So he's not a top 4 to me. Like, I'm taking Kenneth Walker over him still. I'm still taking
no. Brees and Kenneth King. No. Wow. Upside, week winning upside. And you just mentioned it. To me, it's Joe Brady. I am a Joe Brady fan. I have when he was with Carolina. I was shocked when Matt Rule fired him. There's some kind of weirdness there. It seemed like it was just sort of like, hey,
it was kind of saving his butt.
Yeah, no, it just seemed like it was one of those situations where Matt Rule wanted
really
to make
choice,
sure. No, I think he did, because I don't think the offense was the problem. I think Matt Rule was doing what was best for Matt Rule and not what was best for the overall Carolina Panthers. Dude, 25 for 179 and 1. Okay, that's a superstar week. You add 2 for 42 through the air with another touchdown. James Cook isn't like, there's very few running backs who can do it. Do you know what he is on the season right now after that performance?
I mean, he's been pretty good all year, so I'm going to say RB5.
You knew that before
No, I honestly didn't. Is he RB5? I legit don't have it up. Let me see. Is he really RB5?
He's RB5. But that's like that's insane. He's 24 years old. He's connected to one of the best offenses who has not been able to utilize the running back position for years and been dying to do so. This is huge for their offense. Stephon Diggs has tapered off for the Bills. This offense now runs through Josh Allen and James Cook. And guess what? Josh Allen's red zone rushing doesn't seem to be a problem because James Cook is getting plenty of touchdown like receptions. He's getting targets, man. Like This guy's a weapon. I don't know that, like, genuinely, Breece Hall, we keep waiting for Breece Hall to get the Jets situation to get better. Honestly, Bijan, same thing. We have questions about the offense and the talent around him. You give Josh Allen any pass catchers and James Cook, and that offense can go. James Cook connected to a great quarterback. He's young, a great competitive team. I want James Cook everywhere I can. James Cook over Travis Etienne. That's easy for me. James Cook over
this is recency bias. This has got to be recency bias.
No, it's not, bro. I've always been a believer in him. And when Joe Brady became the offensive coordinator, I was trying to trade for him like crazy. I just didn't want to break the bank. I was hedging my bets. That being said, I was also like, not really competing. So it's like, what are you going to do with a really good running back?
That's crazy. I think he's a top 10 running back. He's a top 10 running back. I will give him
that. That's not saying nothing.
Yes, it is, bro. Like top 10's hard
Give me a
to
top
break
6.
for a running back.
Come on now. Give me top 6. Top 6. Come on.
No.
Come on. Roll the dice.
He's flirting with top 8. I just won't give him top 4.
He is 5. A league winner. Bro, mark my words.
For this season, absolutely. In this season, he's
going to be right up at RB5 by the end of the year in Dynasty as well. I promise you on KTC by the end of the season.
Oh, maybe on KTC, of course. Let me see where he is right now, actually. I have it pulled up. He is
RB12.
At RB12. Yeah, I mean, after this week, he's for sure jumping.
Still by now.
I mean, I will take the James Cook hype over the Kyron Williams hype. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you should. You got Josh Allen there.
I mean, KTC's telling me that they wouldn't. KTC's telling me that Kyron Williams is RB8 over Kenneth Walker.
But I promise you, by the end of the week, James Cook is going to be
he's going to skyrocket. Yeah, he's not RB4. I'm overboard on that, but I think top 10's fine.
Dylan, you hate keep trade cut, and you hate a player keep trade cut has come to love. Who is the last playoff performer you want to highlight in all aboard or overboard here?
I'm ready to break some hearts. Okay. This is going to sting for a lot of people. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about me. Just, I'm shooting you straight and giving you honest advice. I'm okay going down with this one. I know. I do this, and I do this for free for you guys. Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, in my mind, and we're talking about Dynasty. I'm not saying through the rest of this season. I'm saying in Dynasty, long term. And I will also caveat this with Matthew Stafford not being around. Puka Nacua is not a top 20 wide receiver. He's not. He's not a top 20 wide receiver to me.
In Dynasty.
In Dynasty. He's had a great season. Phenomenal year this year. I'm not going to discredit anything he's done. I think he's a good wide receiver. But I've said this before, and what am I about to say, Walsh? I'm about to give you a name, and it rhymes with Balladay. I was trying to think of something around with
Kenny Golladay?
Kenny Golladay. Yes.
Dude, I am glad you did not pursue a hip-hop career. I don't know that this is the one either with this take, but please continue.
Kenny G. Kenny Golladay. What happened to Kenny Golladay once he left Matthew Stafford? Or Matthew Stafford left him, however you want to say it.
He pulled off the greatest heist.
Complete
free
heist.
Agency.
Where is Kenny Golladay? Anyone know where Kenny Golladay is? You could probably
on a beach in Cabo, bro.
You could probably sign up for your local flag football league, and he's probably somewhere in that vicinity playing out there.
He owns 3 pickleball teams, and he's chilling in Cabo.
That's true. Bro, he did get a bag.
I forget what the stats were. Do you remember when people were breaking down like the amount of money per catch Kenny Galladay had for the Giants?
It was just ridiculous.
It was disgusting. Like, it was in the millions. I don't even remember like what it was, but
it's up there. It's not Deshaun Watson, but it's up there.
Right.
But Puka Nacua, the reason why I don't think it's sustainable is Matthew Stafford doesn't get enough credit for how great of a QB he actually is. I personally think that Matthew Stafford
true
is
in a vacuum.
Hall of Fame,
Absolutely.
Hall of Fame QB. He is. Just what he's done. He has a Super Bowl to his name. He's been successful everywhere that he's gone, and he has been the reason why they've been successful. Anytime he leaves the situation, i.e. Detroit, it took him a little bit. They're not good. They don't have any relevance. He goes to the Rams. I understand they basically sell the barn to go win a championship. They do it with him. Puka Nacua, I just don't think he is quarterback proof. And that's my biggest thing. I don't know if he's quarterback proof. And I'm not willing to bet a top, what is he? Top. Yeah, at one point he was like, let me see. Puka Nacua is RB9, a top 10 wide receiver.
Wide receiver 9. He's wide receiver 9.
What did I say? Oh, yeah. Sorry. What did I say?
Running back 9.
Oh, sorry. That's my bad. Wide receiver 9, a top 10 wide receiver. No, thank you. I think he's over Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Jordan Addison. No, I'm not. I'm taking all of those guys over Puka Nacua. I just don't think he's doing is sustainable.
Keep going. Own it all the way to 20.
I don't agree with these rankings. Tank Dell, JSN. I'm taking Michael Pittman Jr. over him. Drake London, not Drake London. DJ Moore probably taking over him. DK Metcalf, I'm taking over him. Like, do you want me to keep going, or is that enough for you?
Yeah, no, I want to get to 20. I want to get to 20 because I'm there's more validity to this than I thought. I'm like,
Zay Flowers is 20, which Zay Flowers, I'm probably at this point, they're the same to me right now. It's a wash. They're rookies. I don't.
One has I'm actually taking 1,000 yards received.
I'm saying in Dynasty, I don't care. 1,000 yards is great. I'm not. I understand he's a good wide receiver. He could be a back-end wide receiver too, but he's not. If another quarterback comes to town, i.e. Stetson Bennett, they draft a quarterback, whoever it is, he's not going to be this superstar wide receiver. There's no one that slings the ball. There's very few people that sling the ball like Matthew Stafford. So this high volume passing attack, accuracy down the field, doing things that he's doing, I don't think that's sustainable, and I do not think that he will be
for someone
a top 20 wide receiver moving into next season. Or sorry, he will be going into the season. I don't think he will be.
Top 10 is interesting. Top 10 is interesting. Like Tank Dell connected to a CJ Stroud, like that's an interesting conversation. I feel like you are punishing the man for the one, and you're doing it so hypocritically because you're Mr. Like, does he pass the eye test? Like, show me the film. Puka Nacua is a dadgum ball player, son. He puts his body on the line. He makes acrobatic catches.
He is. It really isn't an anti.
Sean McVay creates fantasy superstars. He always has and he always will. And as long as Sean McVay is connected to the Rams, give me Puka Nacua as a top 15 at least in Dynasty. I feel like you're getting mad that he wasn't a highly drafted rookie. He's having a better season.
I would take Tank Dell over him. Like, and Tank Dell wasn't a highly drafted guy.
But you would take Tank Dell because of the CJ Stroud, which you're like, oh, that's good for him. Stafford, you're like, he's a really great quarterback, but I think he's going to retire really soon. So Puka Nacua's outlook isn't very good. But you're also saying that
if he's attached to Stafford, go ahead. 2
to 3 year window. You just said it. If Stafford's there the next 2 years, what's there to worry about, baby? It's all good. It's all gravy. It's all, Puka Nacua Matata, man. Like just
Puka Matata. You did not just say
not
that.
Nacua Matata. I
Nacua Matata. Okay.
Yeah. At one point, it was one of my fantasy team's names. But dude, I think Puka Nacua has had an unbelievable year. If it stopped right now, he would finish as a top 20 wide receiver just on the year as a rookie. Okay. He's going to continue to add on to an incredibly impressive rookie season. One of the best we've ever seen. I don't know why you're mad at him. I don't know why
I'm not mad at him. And I know the flack that I'm going to catch for saying this because everyone loves Puka Nacua. He is like the dynasty darling. I just have a hunch it's a one-hit wonder. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's sustainable.
No, I think you're wrong. I think this is the same issue with drafting a Julian Edelman or a Wes Welker. I try to keep it real with you, man. I just think you're wrong.
I just think you're wrong.
No, all I'm saying is like It never felt good drafting Julian Edelman because you were like, oh, this is PPR, this is slot work. And I'm not saying Puka even works the same role. I just think I think it's like kind of a size weight. Like he doesn't dominate people like an AJ Brown does. You know what I mean? And he hasn't been doing the incredible route running that Cooper Kupp had been doing for years, where you're like, and also Cooper Kupp had been to mountaintops and brought people fantasy championships. But if you turn on the tape, it's like, that's a really good tactical, it's kind of all the old platitudes, right? Like he doesn't look like he's not making one-handed catches every moment, but this guy makes highlight reel plays all the time. JSN hasn't sniffed the heights that Puka Nacua has
reached. Stafford has Demarcus Robinson out here looking like a top 20 wide receiver.
But that should be considered a benefit to him. Why is situation a benefit in some cases and not a benefit in others? Is it because you're that out on Stafford?
Yes, I think Stafford's out. Like Stafford, bro, the dude's hobbling every single time he's on the field. He's like limping off the field. Like he's just old, and everyone thought he may have retired this offseason. Like I think it's running out of gas. So if he's no longer there, Puka Nacua will not be a top 20 wide receiver, and I'm going to get scorched for that.
I tend to believe Stafford is going to continue to keep it going for at least another year. And I think that everyone here is owed an apology for your hatred of Puka Nacua. I think you made it too public. And I think Puka Nacua is owed an apology as well. That is going to do it for another episode of Dynasty Exchange. Thank you so much for listening in. Find something to be all aboard or overboard. Continue to grind. Dylan, any final thoughts before we close out here?
No, I mean, we've got college football playoffs coming up. We've got bowl games going on. Start doing your scouting now. You don't want to be – if you have picks, you want to be ahead of the game. You want to know what's going on.
Did FSU deserve to be in the college playoff this year, college football?
Don't get me started. Absolutely. You don't just leave out a Power 5 team that went undefeated and won their conference championship. You just don't do that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have Jordan Travis, and I know that you love him as a prospect. We'll be talking a lot more about prospects in the coming weeks as we get closer to the NFL offseason. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We'll catch you later.